morning. Welcome to the BBX Masterclass this morning. Thank you all for joining us. I'd like to introduce you to our workshop host this morning, John Attridge. I know many of you will know John, but for those of you who may not, John is a really dynamic entrepreneur. Has been 40 years in business. You might note from his accent that he's not a local. He started off his business career on the Gold Coast, and now he's the UK CEO of BBX, which is a business community and with a trading exchange that's got thousands of customers. I've had the pleasure of working closely with John for the last few months, and what I would say about John is he is an absolute goldmine of practical, pragmatic, common sense business wisdom, and no doubt he's going to share a great deal of his knowledge and experience with you this morning. So I'd like to pass over to John, and I'll let him get underway. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. That 100 quid's in the mail, no problem. So welcome everybody, and I see there's a mixture of people that I do know and don't know, and whatnot. So this is not a specific thing about BBX, just some people had some interesting things on it. This is about business in general. Nothing of what I'm going to discuss today. And if you could just do us a favor and mute your microphones just in case there's any background music noise, because we'll be recording this if everybody's happy with that. Anybody got an objection, now's the time. And we can give you a copy of the recording at the end, should you wish one. So the purpose of this is to share some stuff that I've picked up over 40 odd years of being in business generally. And none of this is Einstein stuff that all of a sudden I know more than anybody else, because that's not true. One of the things that I speak about is surrounding myself with people who know more than I do, particularly about some of the stuff that I don't like doing and I'm not good at. So that'll be one of the things that we'll cover. So what I think I bring to the table is a little bit of common sense in doing it. And I get frustrated a lot of the times when I see speakers talking about stuff, and when you look back through their LinkedIn profile, they've talked a good game, but have they walked the good game too? You don't know. So anybody that wants to challenge me on my background, happy days. So just a quick overview for those that haven't run across. I've actually sold businesses twice for multi-million-dollar sums. Once was a trade sale and once was a flotation on the stock market. So I've exited businesses, and those businesses I actually founded. So from day one. So there wasn't a single customer the day that we got into it. So you can check all my details on LinkedIn, anybody that wants to have any verification. And away we go.
Réagir, j'étais embarqué dans un camion de livraison et voilà comment j'ai atterri ici.
Ah, c'est incroyable, hein.
Hein, t'entends ça, chérie?
Oui, c'est fou.
So hopefully I see a few smiles about that, because the way I relate that to business, it's a bit like a business, isn't it? You know, you're up the tree, you're doing well, having a big look out, and then someone's taking a pot shot at you. And then you've just got rid of that one, and then someone's chopping the bloody tree down, and next thing you're in the water and flying around and flying around. And then right to the very end, you've got to be so nimble and agile on your feet, because situations crop up where unless you're spontaneous and nimble and agile and have the ability to think outside the 9 dots, you're never going to get out of the wardrobe without getting shot, are you? Excellent. Okay, so these are the presentations based on some observations that I've made, some input that I've received, some case studies that I've been able to get together. So this was originally a presentation I did at Your Partnerships, which is a brilliant networking group that's part of the BBX clan, and I know some of you on this call are part of YP. It started before COVID and worked its way because of COVID all over the countryside with people doing online networking events. So anybody that wants to get more connections, wants to collaborate more with people, I would recommend that you at least have a look at Your Partnerships. They've even got a great offer on at the moment, a 30-day free come and suck it and see period where you can join some of the events and get some benefit. So this is the presentation I did in 8 minutes. So this is going to take about an hour and 20 minutes today. But I'm going to be expanding on the points that we covered in 8 minutes. So the original one was 16 tips in 8 minutes. It took me 4 decades to find the number one that was most important. So we're going to work our way backwards, and these are no particular order, but it does finish at the number one tip that I've got from life, that I've stuck by, that's done me well over the years. And so the downside of this is that you can either go and make a cup of tea, come back about an hour and 10 minutes time, but you've got to get through the other 15 before you get to the number one, just to tease you all. So now I need to play this, and away I'll go. So the first tip, and I hate the word pivot. It really gets on my goat. And you hear it running around all the time. And in my opinion, if you have to pivot in your business, means that your first, second, third, fourth plan, whatever was in place, wasn't well thought out enough. And we'll get to more on that during the course of this presentation. It's my belief that you have to be agile, you have to be nimble. And therefore, if you have your destination where you want to get to, you will know, like the man in the tree, like the man who got shot at, like the man that ends up in the wardrobe, that you run across various situations in your business and personally, because that impacts on your business, that need you to deviate a little bit, to be a little bit more agile, not like the Titanic. So you need to be able to think things through that enable you to take action to avoid icebergs if you're the Titanic. And so there's plenty of examples of that, but that's one of the things, and I can come back to that in a moment, but that's one of the things. An example of this is one of my clients that is a Bulgarian sock manufacturer. Those are the socks they've got reinforced heels and reinforced toes, great quality product. And I was talking to him about in the end of July, and I was asking him about what he did to be a little bit agile, a little bit nimble during COVID. And he said, well, for whatever reason, the demand for socks, high quality socks, wasn't as great as what it was prior to COVID. So what he did is he rejigged his machinery that enabled it to produce PPE equipment. So it's the same machinery, he had the same staff in the same factory, nothing else changed, just the product that he was producing. Now he's gone, and I last spoke to him at the end of September, and he had gone from about a 1.75 million turnover business to on track for 6 million this last year just gone. Now, when you think that process through, here he is stuck in COVID, stuck with machinery, going, rabbit in the headlights. What am I going to do? But just a little bit of nimble thinking changes the outcome, in his case, to 4 or 5 times better than what he was doing previously. So I'm sure most of you in your business, and I saw Lizzie Melvin on the call just here. So I know we've spoken about this before, Lizzie, but just as an example, Lizzie's a great quality photographer. When I get onto Zoom calls, and I'm sure you do too, you see the number of people that don't have a background, and there's a number of people on this call, and I'm not having a go at anyone. Some people have professional backgrounds, some have live backgrounds like mine, and I can play my little BBX on the video up there that gives everybody a little bit of surreptitious water torture while you're going along. Others like Ian Cahill at Two Tier Travel have his nice screen at the back, or Barry in front of his lovely brick house there. Others, you know, you don't have a screen, and sometimes I try and get the little card. So Leslie, sometimes you've got a card, but if the video memory card is not great, you move your head and you see the little stream of stuff coming out the back where the false background doesn't quite meet up. So Lizzie spoke about taking photographs of great images, getting them printed off and using them as static Zoom backgrounds. So there's just another little example there, and I can't see you at the moment, Lizzie, but I'm sure you're nodding your head or what have you there. So that's an example of being a little bit nimble. And my argument is, if you have to change to plan B, that plan A wasn't well thought through. So that's just my point with this. So what could you do in your business to currently use your current infrastructure to get a little bit better result? So I don't have the answer for everybody. This is you will know, you're running your own business, but have you really stopped to think, are there alternatives to what you do without changing too much of your process, like the sock manufacturer, to be able to offer a service that can combat with some of the challenges that COVID and its restrictions have placed upon us? And going forward with a vision of what if is always something that allows you to be nimble. So what if I did this? And then think that process through. So the next point that I've come across is the why, and it's not what it does. It's not how it does it. It's the end game. So people start, and I've heard plenty of people talk about the why. Why are you doing certain things? And that then triggers the what. So there's a sequence to this. Why is the beginning. Why do I start what it is that I'm doing? What is the motivation? What is it that I want to do? Now, on the Quantum Business Show, there was a great interview I did with Alan Peace. Alan Peace is the original author of Body Language, Why Men Lie, Women Cry, Why Men Don't Listen and Women Can't Read Maps. He's written and sold 300 million books. So anybody that's part of the Quantum Business Show, you can just jump on and have a look at the interview I did with Alan. And Alan specifically talks about this, because what happens is that you get your what in mind, what it is, and then all of a sudden, all the how naysayers get in the road. So I'm sure you've run across this in your business. You've got, I'm going to go and, fly to the moon today. And then everybody says, but John, you haven't got an oxygen suit. John, you haven't got a rocket. John, you don't know anything about rocket science. So it's all the people that don't do anything anyway are putting all the blockers in your mind with what you're doing. Richard Branson puts it another way, says, when asked if he can do something, he just says yes, then he works out how to do it. So this is what I'm talking about in this particular example. Then when we're going to get into our what, how would you explain a car to an alien is a question, because I see so many people when I ask them what it is that they do, and it takes them forever. How many people have been on a Zoom call and you've said, right, we've got 30 seconds, just say your name, what you do, and where you're from. And you get some people that stay 3 minutes and the person has to cut them off at the end because they're still waffling on. So Einstein once said, if you don't understand it well enough, or you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it well enough. And so I challenge people out there, in your business, can you explain what you do to another person in under 60 seconds? And will they get it? So the litmus test is, how could you explain a car to an alien? And I'll let your minds ponder what that is, because an alien's never seen a car, and he wouldn't have the faintest idea, or she wouldn't have the faintest idea, whatever the political correctness is these days, of aliens, as to what a car can do. So have a think about, when you're talking to other people in your business, do they get easily the what that your business does, not the how it does it? This is the key message. You need to be able to explain the what it does, not the how that it does it. So would a 12-year-old get your elevator pitch? There's plenty of us out there with kids, so have a little practice. Put together your elevator pitch on what it is that you do. Practice on your 12-year-old, and if your 12-year-old gets it, millennials these days are very quick to get on with things. So if the 12-year-old gets it, then you're on the right path. Number 3, there's an old saying that if it's hard to soar like an eagle if you're surrounded by turkeys. And one of the things that I've done over the years, and sometimes, always by design, is try and surround myself with great people. So many people in business, particularly those that have staff, and I know there's a few on this call that do have staff, try and recruit people that, are better than you. Too many owners like knowing more than everybody else in the business about what they do. So I'd ask yourself, in your business, if you all of a sudden fell out of that tree or had a shot or got stuck in the wardrobe and you couldn't get out, is there someone in your business that could take over today and keep it running? So I've seen many businesses over the year where the key person, something happens to them, and all of a sudden the business fails because there's nobody else left in the business that understands it as well as you do. So that'd be a challenge I'd put out to everybody, whether you're a sole proprietor or a limited company or you employ staff. There's got to be people in the business that know as much as you do about running the business. My math says 1 + 1 = 3. And when you get like minds together, you will get a better outcome collectively, i.e. the team is greater than the sum of its parts. And I know this is nothing new and nothing rocket science, but if you had other people in your business that were as good as you, just have a think about what impact that would have on the business. Which leads me to the next one. And those of you who have got staff, and again, I can't see anybody, but I know there's people on this call that do have staff, like Richard Strongman, and you have many of them. But one of the failures that people, if you're going to take that next step from being just a sole proprietor or a partnership, and then you just, you're up around that 100, perhaps 200,000 pounds of revenue, and you want to take that next step in the beginning of the scaling of a business project, then you'll have to employ staff unless you're someone like Mark Zuckerberg and you've come up with something that can be scalable without increasing staff. Good luck. However, most of us do rely on people. And so one of the biggest mistakes people make that are trying to recruit other people is that they only recruit when they need to. So let's just think that through. If you're in the position where you start recruiting the day you decide, when you begin, you've got to, because you've got no staff. But when you've got staff, what's going to happen? Now, the average lifespan of a staff member nowadays is less than 2 years. So when people are on the move, particularly in a sales function, and salespeople move more often than other people, but people do move. And so if you're not ahead of the curve with recruitment, then you're behind the 8 ball from day one. Someone's put their notice in, they've given you a month's notice, the next thing you do is go and put an ad in the paper or an ad with a recruitment company, and straight away you're under the pump. Whereas if you're ahead of the game by always looking out for good people, wherever they may come from, even if there's not an opportunity right now, you'll be in a better position than having to wait for when the right person comes along. So my strong recommendation, and this is something that I have dealt with in other parts of my business. I started out a bit my business life with MLC Life in Australia, and at one point I was in charge of 600 to 800 commission-based salespeople. So I can tell you that recruitment was the #1 priority other than training. So if you recruit when you don't need to, you'll be ahead of the game. We could do a whole seminar on recruitment, but I won't do that today. Get complementary skills. Clones are for clowns. So I see so many businesses and I go in there and they're all ladies, or they're all guys, or they're all old people, or they're all millennials. There's never a complementary team here. So you need to get complementary skills. I'm yet to run across any organisation that focuses on getting all the skills it needs around them. They do it by force rather than by choice. And so that's one thing when you get there, because you will know a lot of stuff and you will also don't like doing a lot of stuff. You'll hear some of this repeated. So if you don't like stuff, you're generally not good at it. You know, you put paperwork in front of me and it bores me senseless. So, you know, the last thing I want to be doing is paperwork, because I'm not good at it. I don't like it. I'm not efficient at it. So why wouldn't I get people that are those weird people? I know, sorry, there's some weird people out there that are unlike me, that are good at accounting and are good at, getting all that sort of stuff done. So that's why when I outsource to them, well, I don't want to run across other bits, but that's what I want to do. And I know there's a guy on this call, John Shenton. Have a wave, John. I can't see you, but wave. Is he waving? Anybody see? Is John waving? Alex? Yeah, he's waving. John is the master of this, which is called DISC, which is personality profiling. It's not an IQ test. It's not an intelligent test. It's not anything else other than the personality of the person that you're recruiting. So I won't go right into the details, but if anybody wants a masterclass on this, John Shenton is your man. So in essence, I use this profile all the time to make sure, A, I've got the right people on my bus, and B, that they're sitting in the right seats. There's many an organisation, and I won't name the name, there's a particular lawyer that is a customer of mine. I know the owner well, and his receptionist is a very dot-I, cross-T type of person that I'm sure would be great at spreadsheets. But as a receptionist, pre-COVID, you walk in the door and you get a face like a sour lemon. You get 3 words if you're lucky. And I'm just saying, you know, bleep, you've got to get that person, she's a good person, but get her in the right seat. She's in the wrong seat on your bus. So how many people in your organisation, and you'll know this truly, are sitting in the wrong seat? And then finally, how many people are on the bus that shouldn't be on the bus? So with recruitment, you need to hire methodically, and using DISC is a great way of doing that, and fire rapidly. How many times have we gone out there and we've had Mary or we've had Bill, and, you know, we've done review meetings and, you know, we've got that gut feeling that something's going astray. We've persisted month after month, and then we thought, oh, Christmas is coming up, let's give them another month. And what happens at the end of that period? You get to the thing where, you know, you think, God, you know, finally the last straw breaks and you get rid of them, and you think, why the hell didn't I do that 6 months or a year ago? So I can see some people nodding. So that would be my my tip with that. The next thing is your health. And we've got plenty of people on the Quantum Business Show that speak about not only physical health, but mental health, wellness, and you hear about a lot today, particularly in COVID and lockdown. But what are you doing as yourself, as the business owner, to work on your health. There are two things that I do. And again, none of this is rocket science. I ran across a guy called Chris Watts. Chris was the first guy on the European Golf Tour to hit 24 under for a 4-round 72 hole tournament in golf. And he talked about doing the 20 things 1% better. And one of those, he brought out a demonstration of the following. And I was in a presentation with him, and he brought out a little quiz, and he said, "John, how much of the human body is made up of water?" I said, "I don't know." And he, 92%. Then he said, "John, how much is the average pot plant water?" And I said, "I don't know." And he said, 92%. Then he brought out a really flourishing pot plant and put it in front of me. And he said, "What do you think of this?" And I said, "Yeah, it looks like a great pot plant." Then he got under the table and he bought this old, dried, withered, brown, all shriveled up thing. And he said, "What's wrong with that pot plant?" I said, "Looks like it hadn't had any water." And he said, "Am I making any sense here?" And I know that sounds stupid, but the penny dropped. I was one, my doctor told me, my mum told me, my grandmother told me, and I was 60 years of age before the penny dropped that I wasn't having enough water. Since that day, I'm now 63. I know I look, 106, but that's fine. Since that day, religiously, I have 3 pints of water. Now, the difference has been absolutely amazing. And I know it's hard when you first get it, think, "Oh, God, how do I drink?" For men, 3 litres, for ladies, 2, average, because of your density and whatnot. I just have a little big cup like that, sat next to my desk, and you'd be amazed I get through 4 or 5 of these during the course of a day, just having a little sip here and there. And it just goes down nicely. So, but the things I've noticed, I'm far more attentive. I'm far more articulate. I need less sleep. I sleep better. I never worry about any stuff anyway. That's another thing, that worrying about stuff you've got no control over, to me, and that leads to mental health issues. And I really reach out to people that do have mental health issues, but I can't identify with that because I don't. But worrying about stuff that you've got no control over is one of the things that causes that, in my opinion. So water is a thing. If you're not drinking enough water, for God's sake, try it. Do it for 30 days and tell me that it doesn't work properly. And the other thing's a bit of exercise. Religiously, I walk to work every day. On a weekend, I'll do 2 lots of 2 hours, brisk walking. If you're not doing any of those exercises, and do it for a month, and then tell me you don't feel good about it. Because at the end of the day, if you're sluggish, if you are tired, if you are withdrawn, how's your business going to run? How can you possibly be in the wardrobe thinking of nimble things to say when your mind is dull or asleep or what have you? You just don't have the same reaction opportunity. So I'll leave you with that. That's probably one of the only subjective ones that I do. A positive mental attitude. I wrote a thing on LinkedIn the other day, 21 things to get you positive. I don't know if anybody caught that or not. If you want a copy of that, just please link in with me. And just while I remember, it's just John Attridge. If you're on LinkedIn, send me a little buzz and tell me what a pain I've been, or that you want to do some linking in with. But that's one of the things I wrote the other day, and a few people got a nice reaction from it. The next thing is, and this is Alex Clapcott putting his smile on here. Internationally, and this is from just about every book that you want to read, every best practice business that's succeeded puts 7 to 11% of their annual turnover, not profit, into spam. And I can see John Fox sitting there, John Parrott, saying, "God, do I have to eat all this spam?" So SPAM is my acronym for sponsorship, promotion, PR, advertising, marketing, and everything web. So for those, again, who've got a mind of a steel trap, you won't need to repeat, get a cup of tea. For those that want to write this down, sponsorship, promotion, PR, advertising, marketing, and everything web. So these are all the opportunities in your business to get other people knowing what it is that you do. During COVID and through adversity, the first thing that a lot of businesses do is cut their spam budget. And I'm thinking, man, that's a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you hide in your shell, no one will find you. Is this making any sense to anybody? Thanks, Alex. So the big companies like Coca-Cola and McDonald's, they spend billions a year on these type of activities. So if you're not spending 7 to 11% of your budget, of your turnover on these types of activities, then you will not survive long term. Statistically speaking, and I speak around the world on this, of why 50% of people in business survive despite their best efforts not to, and the other half fail. One of the biggest reasons for the failures is a lack of marketing. And it's not just money you're spending, it's the expertise on marketing. So you're going to ask me, yeah, that's fine, John, 7 to 11% of my turnover. I've got $1 million turnover. Where am I going to find 70 to 110 grand of revenue? That it's COVID, you idiot. Don't you know that things are going on here? So I've got a solution to it. And here's where I get a BBX plug. I bet you in your business, you've got some spare capacity, and that's the ability to take on more business without increasing fixed cost. So you don't have to increase staff. You don't have to move to bigger premises. You've got the ability to sell more, and the only cost in doing that is the product cost. For those of you, and the vast majority, Richard Strongman, you've got product, I get it. But the other vast majority of people on this call are time-based businesses. So to capture and monetize spare capacity is purely time, which costs you virtually nothing. So if you can sell that spare capacity, capture in the form of a digital trade credit, which is what BBX ends up doing, and then you can use that digital trade credit to buy sponsorship, promotion, PR, advertising, marketing, and all web-based stuff, then you're driving cash revenue into your business. And then the other thing is, John, I don't have time for questions. I will at the end. If you can just bear with me, I'll get through. Thank you. Or anybody else, Ria, please write a question, and if we have some time at the end, we'll certainly try and cover it. The next thing with your marketing is please measure it. And I've got some stories on measurement that, don't just give a budget to somebody and get them to write a report each time. You've got to have some measurement tool. And there are plenty, we could do another session on this completely, Alex, at some point on how to measure stuff properly. Now, this brings me to the next one is have a look through, and I know you're going to probably wince at this with COVID, but sack bad customers. Now, the book that changed my life forever was the 80-20 Principle by Richard Koch, K-O-C-H. Anybody that's never seen it or read it, 80-20 Principle, Richard, K-O-C-H. So Richard talks about that 80% of your revenue will come from the top 20% of your customer base. 80% of the moans that come from your thing will come from 20% of your customers. Generally speaking, and there'll probably be in the 80% of customers that don't do a lot. So, if you've got bad customers, my advice is get rid of them, because that'll allow you focus for you and your staff to focus on giving better service to the customers that drive 80% of the revenue into your business. That those of you who want a good backup seminar on customer service, again, on the Quantum Business Show, a mate of mine I've known for 20 years, John Scholl, he's had his own, the American Service Institute on customer service. This guy is the expert in his field globally. He's had his business 48 years and 11 months, probably ticked over 49 years now. So How many people in business have been in the same business for 49 years, still enjoying it, still going strong? And John's got a great little workshop on the Quantum Business Show. So customer service is something that you need to prioritise. This would be it. And he talks about getting rid of bad customers. Double the price. If you really don't want to get rid of bad customers, you're too frightened, double your price and see what happens. There, if you get double the price, then the bad customer's worthwhile spending a little bit more time with. Now, I mean, when I say double, I mean put it up significantly. And if they're a real pain in the ass, put it up 10 times. Oh, sorry, Alex, I can't swear on this, can I? Sorry. Put your price up, because the bad customer, 9 times out of 10, only buys from you on price. And therefore, they're never loyal. As soon as there's a Groupon deal or as soon as there's some other deal going on with your competitor, off they'll trot. They're not going to stick with you. They don't give you recommendations. They don't give you a little thing on Trustist. Another little plug for one of my customers, Hello Nigel, if you're watching. Trustist is a review platform. So they won't give you any of that sort of stuff. But if you double your price, at least you can put up with the pain. The next one again, and I know there's a lot of people on this call that have got on this new thing called side hustles, which I think came out of the States. I'd never run across the term until about a year ago. But developing multiple and reoccurring revenue streams. And again, this is a question you need to ask yourself. Are you stuck with a one-off revenue stream? Are you selling time for money? If you're selling time for money, then most of the time you'll end up with more month than money, if that makes sense, because you have a limited amount of time. And so unless you put your price up, then that's the only way I know of creating more money out of a given period of time. So if you're selling your services on a time-based, that doubling your money, doubling your prices is a very important, but also look outside that. So what are the multiple revenue streams? If you look at the BBX model, we have a commitment payment that everybody pays to sign up and get an onboarding. We have a monthly access fee to get your account manager to give you a phone call on buying and selling and connecting you up into the network. And then we take a commission on every time you do a successful outcome. So we've got 3 revenue models in our structure that all provide a value-added service, but you only pay for it as you get the value. So what is it that you can do in your business to stop selling time for money or increase the amount of money that you get for your time? Or is there any complementary services that you can provide that will give you an additional revenue stream? And I'm just looking at you, Lizzie Melvin, sorry, but you're in my immediate capture down there. Lizzie, is there a photography course that you could do that you can just create once and all of a sudden sell it at 20 quid a month and get updates where people join you for a little photography outing, 1 day a month, and they get their 20 quid's worth of value? You probably do it already, but is there anything like that? John Perrott from Fox Tailoring, is there a tailoring course that you could do on new and exciting trends? Join John and the boys once a month for our trendy updates on what the guys in Paris are doing. I know you've just put your hand in the air. What is it in your business that you could create within the given structure? Again, going back to being focused on the job at hand rather than being pivoting. What can you do nimbly? What can you do with agility to create another revenue stream that's complementary to what you do in your business? I don't know the answers. You will be the best person. I'm happy to have a one-to-one with anybody to throw this around in thought process, or let's get a little group together or something. But that's what it does. Have a look at the monthly software as a service. You know, if you look at all the things that you pay every month for, whether it's your Zoom subscription or whether it's your web hosting or whatever. Now, these guys only signed you up once, and providing they look after you every month, there it is, month in, month out, you're getting a little dribble. Even if it's 10 or 20 quid, if you do that 1,000 times, you know, that's not a bad sustainable income for people, even in a one-person operation. And if you're in a bigger company, you know, that's how Microsoft survive, isn't it? So why they've grown so fast. Stop selling time for money. There we go there. The next thing is, you know, I went bald at an early age when first time I ever heard the word discount. And it really annoys me. You know, the first thing, you know, people do is offer you a discount, and you haven't even started talking to them yet. And I'm thinking, what's going on? Or they put it in their marketing. You know, let's have 50% off. Now, those of you who like shopping down the high street when you're able to, out of COVID, you know, if you haven't got a 70% off sale, nobody goes in there anymore. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 is not even interesting. And again, you're just trying to bastardize your price, and that's what happens to it. So if you must discount, then, or you want to provide value, get some extra value add in it. So what is it that you can do in your service that costs you little or nothing, but represents great value for your end consumer? So what that might be. So again, and I'm sorry, I've only got limited view on who I can see on this, but John Perrott, I'm not picking on you, but you're just in my viewfinder here. So, you know, what in your tailoring business, there must be other outsourced stuff like an alterations company, and I'm sure you do this already. So if you're able to get together, collaborate with an alterations company, do a great deal, and that alterations company normally charges 20 quid to take up a pair of trousers, and you could offer that for free, but you can go and do a deal with that person and get it for £5, then that's only a £5 of cost to you, but £20 of value to the end customer, rather than giving away the 20 quid off the value of the pair of trousers. So, you know, there are plenty of things down there. There's an example here. If you own a restaurant, and this just hopefully gives you an idea. So, you know, a £15 bottle of wine at a restaurant costs that restaurateur 3-4 quid at the wholesaler. Richard Strongman, you'd be able to verify that for me. I can't see you, but you know, give me a thumbs up if you agree. So that the restaurateur that's selling that 15 bottle of wine that's cost 3 or 4 quid from Richard is an example. So the restaurateur says, John, come back and talk to me one day, and if you come back, I'll give you a free bottle of wine. And you think, oh, wow, I've just seen it on the menu. That's 15 quid's worth of value. Rewind the situation. If the same restaurateur said, John, come back and see me next time, I'll give you £3 off. What would you choose is the better deal? £3 wouldn't even interest most people, would it? But the bottle of wine represents value. So what is it that you can provide that doesn't cost you much, if anything at all, that provides value for the end user? Unsold time. You know, those of you who are on this call that's got time as a spare capacity opportunity and you haven't sold it all, if you have to do some value adding, give your customer that you've just doubled the price an extra hour. Give your customer that you want to work with an extra hour of your time. If it's unsold, it's worth nothing. Why not give your time as some added value to your customer instead of trying to discount your services? Now, the other thing that discounting does is it bastardizes your price, because when that good person refers their friends, they'll want the same deal. So instead of discounting, if you've got a time-based business, give an extra half hour, give an extra hour of value, whatever it is. Doesn't cost you anything if it wasn't going to be sold, but it represents, if you're selling your services for 50 quid an hour, that represents 50 quid of value for your customer. Is this making any sense? Cool. Now, give your customer some different payment options, and as well as you, bear this in mind when you're out buying stuff. You know, the best option is free. And therefore you take advantage of all the idiots that are giving stuff away for free. That's what I'd recommend. Now, if you can get stuff for free, happy days, providing it's decent and it's value and you don't waste your time with it. But have a look out. There's plenty of offers running around at the moment from people that haven't thought the process of value adding through, or they have, and they're using their product as a free offer to you, which is smart move. Take advantage of it. If you can't buy stuff for free, then do a contra, a trade, a swap, an exchange. And for those of you, a barter, which is a word that I hate. Do something with your services if you want some other services, because it doesn't cost you 100 pence in the pound. So if you've got spare capacity and you want to buy something, whether that's to get your accountancy done, you know, tell your accountant, I'll do some photography for you. Whatever it is, it's COVID. There's no money going around. Haven't you caught up with everybody else? So you're moaning, but you're smart because you're putting your position, your head on the fact that you want to get some value from everybody else. And I'll give you a quick example of this. You know, people talk about relationships, and everybody has an accountant. I'm sure there's probably accountants on the call. And I asked them how much. I had a lady yesterday. I said, how much do you spend with the accountant? She said, 2 grand. I said, how long you had him? 20 years. I said, so you spent 40 grand with your accountant over that time. What's he done for you? Well, he's done my books. He's a good guy. You know, I pay the VAT that I'm able to. I pay the tax only when I have to. And I said, well, how much R&D credit do you get? She said, what's that? And I said, oh, have you taken advantage of the £600 voucher system? What's that? Oh, so this accountant and cream on the cake. How much business has the accountant come and done with you in the last 20 years in round numbers? And that's some sort of relationship. Talk me through that again. So if you can do a contra, do that rather than paying out pounds sterling. If you can't do a direct contra, use BBX, because we've got a digital trade credit that enables you to do a contra without having to exchange at the same time for the same value with the same person. So anybody that's not familiar with that, I can get someone to run through that with you. And then get the best cash deal if you have to. You know, we go on holiday somewhere and we're in Morocco, down at Casablanca, and in this market, and that's heaven for me. There's 15 acres of stuff, and I can haggle for days on end. My wife's looking the other way, pretending she's not with me, all sorts of things. Oh, John, you know, they're poor people. I say, well, if they're poor people, like anybody else, they want to do some business. How much is that wallet? 20 quid. What's he do? That person saw the ship come in, which I was off. The wallet used to be 10 quid. For the day, it goes up to 20 for all the people who get off the cruise ship and just pay them 20 quid. So we know this. So I've got to start down at a pound or something like that. And everybody reacts. And it only gets to the point where you walk away and they don't chase you, you know that you haven't got a deal. But get the best deal you possibly can. Be in charge. Collaborations is my next area. So there's plenty of people out there that can be in complementary or collaborative situations. You just need to think the process through. Again, Lizzie, I'll use you again as my guinea pig, please. You know, what collaboration do you have with a picture framer, as an example? You're a photographer. I'm sure some of your stuff gets picture framed. Do you have a working collaboration where there's a quid pro quo of some kind where you're giving business to the picture framer, but the picture framer's doing business back with you? Can you both get together and put a little offer out when you put your marketing, when a little flyer goes out? How many times have you seen a little flyer come through your door and it's got a blank side to it? And you think, well, these guys selling pizza. And you think, hang on, why didn't pizza get together with Deliveroo or some complementary business and have the pizza on one side, Deliveroo on the other side? The pizza guy could have rung Deliveroo and said, I'm going to do this promotion. If you pay half, I'll pay half. You know, you've halved your cost and you've got double the benefit. So there's plenty of things with collaborations. And that's why I think David Brock and the guys at your partnership through networking, which leads to collaborations, I think is certainly the better way. And it's going to be the way moving forward. So people will like to buy bundles. So bundles are better. So if you get a bundle of services, who wants to go and get a picture off Lizzie when Lizzie offers printing pictures and framed? So if you had the opportunity, would you go separately to the framer, to the picture framer, and to the photographer and to the printer, or would you just prefer to go to Lizzie, get great photography, get it printed, and get it framed? You know, that's why supermarkets exist, isn't it? I know there's an argument to buy local and butcher and baker and candlestick maker, and that's another subject. But why people go to the supermarket is because everything's under one roof. You don't have to go jobbing around all over town. So what is it that you can do that bundles stuff up in your business that provides a complementary collaboration where you can even possibly get an uplift in revenue? So if you do a revenue share, Lizzie, you know, you might say to the picture framer, look, for every frame, let's go halves in the outcome, and get an uplift in the product. So instead of selling photography for £100, you sell a framed print for 250. So the person's paying more, and everybody gets a little divvy out of it, and you can take a cut for doing it all. As I said before, outsource stuff that you don't like and you're not good at. So one of the things, and have a look through things. How many of you spend more than an hour every month on your books, doing your VAT returns, doing your accounts, doing all that sort of stuff? And how many of you love doing that? I can't imagine if you're a tailor that you love doing accounts. I can't imagine that if you're a travel connoisseur that you love doing the bookwork. So what I'd recommend is spend more time marketing your business, outsource that if you're not good at that, doing more stuff that you like in your business that you're not good at that you can outsource for other people. It'll be more cost effective. You know, if I'm looking to get IT services, I'd rather pay the guy 50 quid an hour to come in and do my IT than me spending half a day trying to work out where everything goes. I'm frustrated with it. I don't do it well, and the outcome isn't as good as what I need if I just simply pay someone to come and do it. And then I can use my time to stuff that I am good at, that I do like, that I make more money at. So I challenge everybody. If you identify and define the things that you like and are good at that earn you money, and you spent more time on doing those things rather than the other stuff, would you be better off, worse off, or be no difference? Let me say that again. If you focused your time on the stuff that you do like, that you are good at, that you earn money from, and eliminated all the time you spend on stuff that you don't like and are not good at, would you be better off, worse off, or no different? Interesting. Connections. Connections are like a chain. I've got, I don't know, 22,000 or something connections on LinkedIn. I started with LinkedIn about 14 years ago. When I very first started, the first 2,000 or so connections, I just linked in with everybody. And then I came across a guy who said, John, you know, LinkedIn is, you know, it's like going to the football and getting on the microphone saying, hello, everybody, you know, please join me. There's no connection. There's nothing together. So only link in with people that you come across in some form or another. And so there's some sort of relationship to begin with. So connections are important. People ask me all the time, John, do you know a left-handed widget maker? And I'll be able to say yes. You know, I was on a call with your partnerships recently, and Kevin Byrne, who had mentioned to me, Kevin Byrne was on the Quantum Business Show. He was the guy that started Checker Trade from his shed, sold it for 78 million quid. An everyday sort of guy when you talk to him, and go and listen to the interview on the Quantum Business Show if you haven't listened to it before. Kevin talks about some of the things about his connections and how it's important. And one of the things he mentioned that he gave £7 million to widows and orphans in Nepal. Straight after the interview, I knew 3 other people. And if any YP are on this call, Ernie from the United States, that's a YPer in the United States. Phil Cartledge, Reverend Phil Cartledge, which is a customer here locally, and Paul Nash, who runs Things to Do In, great little service too. I knew from previous conversations and talking to them that all three of those had a connection to Nepal. So the first thing I did after the interview with Kevin was connect those four up, and they're currently doing business together. So when that goes out like that, people appreciate the power of the connection, and then through the power of reciprocity, if that's how you say it, then whatever you give out, you will get back. So connect up with people. It's not what you know, it's who you know. And you know, this is all stuff that this is not revelation to most of you, but you know, connections are so much more important today than they've ever been in the past. Your network is your net worth, and I won't bore Brock or take his thunder from his stuff with that. The next is a little pet one, and Alex and I have been toying about throwing together a separate workshop on this. But I speak, one of my subjects is on buying motivations, understanding the motivation of your customer. So that starts with a long journey. We could spend, you know, a good hour on this, going through how it does. So this is an example, and I'll tell you a little quick story. So I went to the Pear on Parley, new restaurant. This was in 2019. The Pear on Parley is a restaurant in Parley here in Bournemouth. I was with my wife and two kids, grown-up kids, and we're driving down the road, and I saw the sign saying, under new management, come and try our new wood-fired pieces. So I thought, oh, that's interesting. So I drive up the driveway, I park in the car park, nice big car park, all tarmacked, shady trees. It was a hot summer's day. I got greeted well at the front reception, offered a drink if I wanted to stay. I could dine inside or outside with the pizza area. So I thought, oh, I'll go out. Lovely little outdoor area, a couple of acres of park going down to a river. Those of you in Bournemouth may have run across it. Sat there, had a pizza. Pizza comes over. I've got my beer. I've taken the first bite out of my pizza, and you've got the normal stock standard waitress saying, have you liked the meal? And I haven't even had a bite yet, which is pretty annoying. Everything goes well. We walk out the door, and I pay my 100 quid as we leave, and I stop. And I said to my wife, you know what? What a great restaurant. What a great experience. Great customer service. But they made three of the massive, biggest mistakes that I've ever heard of. And she said, why? What? And I said, well, the first one is they got no data capture. Not a piece of data capture at all. They wouldn't even know what my name was, let alone an email or something to follow up. They could have given me a birthday, asked me for my month of birth, and then give me a little offer of that free bottle of wine we talked about before to come back and stay. So come back and do the place again. So the first thing, they did not have any idea who we are. The second thing is they did not ask the buying motivation question. By the way, may I ask, what motivated you? What was the trigger that caused you to come and do business in our restaurant today? Simple question, rather than that dumb question, how do you like the meal? Because in the UK, everybody just nods their head and says, yes, the meal's okay. And then even if it's not, they just say, oh, I'm not coming back here again. And then they moan on TripAdvisor or Trustist or wherever. So, but in Australia, America, you know, they'll throw rocks at you if the service is not good or the food's not good. So here we've got to be a little bit more agile, a little bit more nimble. What motivated you to come in? If they'd asked me that, my answer would have been, I saw the sign saying, come and try the new wood-fired pizza. So what could they have done then with their marketing? They could have enhanced that marketing by putting a bigger sign up, putting two signs up, putting some more stuff on there, because if the motivation was to do the wood-fired pizza, then that would have attracted people to come back in. Quick little story, just while we're on restaurants. I worked with a chain of Indian restaurants a few years ago, and they were known for their pretty little flower boxes outside the front window. So I worked with the owner, and he didn't ask buying questions, he didn't ask capture details, and he didn't give any reason for people to return. So I said, look, let's come and work together, see if we can increase turnover. We did it for 90 days and increased turnover by over 30%, 30, right? One of the things we did was ask the buying motivation question. Mostly women were the respondents. 28% of the women said my buying motivation to coming in this restaurant today was I liked the pretty little flower boxes outside. Now, this was when Brexit was just about announced. So he was thinking about putting the flower boxes away and putting outside seating. So if he'd done that, would have got a 28% decrease in turnover and been blaming Brexit. Does that make sense? So, you know, most people would have thought, how could 28%, their buying motivation for eating the food wasn't the quality, wasn't the service, wasn't the chef, wasn't anything else. It was the flower boxes outside the door. So what's your buying motivation? And I'd challenge you, ask your customers what motivates them to come and do business with you. So getting back to my pair on Parley. So the 3 mistakes: they didn't ask the buying motivation, they didn't do any data capture, and then they didn't give me any offer to return. They could have given me that £15 bottle of wine and said, John, next time you come back, I'll give you a £15 bottle of wine. Here's the voucher. Come back and use it within 6 months. Now, have I ever been back to the pair on Parley? No. Okay, COVID got in the road last year. But this was 2 years ago and I've never, ever been back, and I liked the experience. If they'd have sent me a bloody voucher, no doubt I would have been there. This is, you know, it really annoys me on how some people survive despite their best efforts not to. Cash flow. Everybody talks about cash flow, happy days, and cash flow's it's like a dam on a river. You've either got to make it rain upstream or put a bigger wall up and stop the water going downstream. So a lot of this is obvious, but have you all got a VAT account? Interesting. So those of you with VAT, do you have a little slush fund bank account called the VAT account? And when you take some revenue on, you slush that money in there. Because what happens when the VAT quarter's up, or the VAT month, or wherever you're doing it, you've spent the VAT money. Does this ring any bells? Ah, I see a few smiley faces. So there's just a little trick. It just takes away the temptation. You know, this comes back to my MLC days where I used to sell savings plans for children's education. And at the end of the term, you had a death coverage with it, just in case something happened in the meantime. But you got back your money in a little squidgen. And I had a guy come into a bar about 20 years after I signed his child up into a savings plan, thanking me. And he said, John, because if I hadn't put that $5 away every week religiously for the last 18 years, Mandy would never have gone to university. I'd never made money out of it, but it just forced me to put that $5 away, da-da-dee-da. So that's one thing. Take deposits off clients, please. Now, this is getting back to sacking bad clients. Bad clients will want to get everything done up front with no commitment. True? How many of you? Right? So good clients won't mind paying a deposit. But, you know, and if you're a picture framer, Lizzie, and the cost of your product is 50%, then, you know, get a upfront commitment. Richard Strongman, I know you must run accounts. How many times do you ever have bad or slow paying debts? Interesting. So get some money up front, certainly an amount equivalent to the fact of your outlay. So, you know, if you're a picture framing business and you're selling a picture frame for 100 quid and 40 of it is the material that you have to buy from the wholesaler somewhere, at least get the 40 quid up front as a commitment. It does two things. It commits the buyer to your product. And secondly, have a look and see what effect it has on your accounts receivable. So getting your money up, particularly in COVID, if you're not ahead of that game, there's going to be so many people are. And then you're going to be forced into factoring or other things that I would not advise necessarily if you can get away with it. Sack the bean counter. Sorry if there's any accountants on there and you're bean counters. Get rid of bean counting accountants. So gain forecasting accountants. Go and talk to James Soden, Paul Waite at Aspen Waite. They're two of my customers that I know that are forecasting accountants, not bean counters. Anybody can tell you how much money is in the bank account by looking at the statement. You only need some form of bookkeeper to keep all the records straight, but you need an accountant to give you some forecasting. I challenge you. Who does monthly management forecasting accounts? I see a few people shaking their heads. So, you know, it's like driving the car with your eyes closed. You know, you would never do that. So how do you know where you're going in your business? And if your business, if the only way you know where your cash flow is by looking how much is the deposit value in your bank account or how much the loan book is at the moment, please go and get yourself a forecasting accountant and get some management accounts happening so that you can look forward. There's a reason why a windscreen is 40 times bigger than a rear vision mirror. So you need to be looking forward, not looking backwards. So there is a reason that a windscreen is 40 times bigger than a rear vision mirror. And so get an accountant that's your windscreen, not your rear vision mirror. Now, the next one is my pet favorite because it's what we do. It's measure your biggest hidden asset, which is your spare capacity. So for those of you, let me just use a quick example. You run a hotel, it's got 100 rooms, you sell every room for £100 a night, you've got a 50% occupancy. That tells me that you've got a £5,000 per night revenue stream coming in from just hotel sales, but you've also got £5,000 escaping out into the ether, or worse still, being captured by a competitor every single day. So if you can capture and monetize some of that wasting spare capacity in your business, capture and monetize it in the form of a contra, capture and monetize it in the form of a value add, some BBX digital trade credits, whatever works for you, do something with it, value add it into your proposition when you're buying stuff, then do something with that biggest hidden asset. So first one is measure it. So Lizzie, picking on you again, if you can sell your time and it's £100 an hour for photography and you're happy to work 40 hours a week, there's $4,000 a week in revenue. If you're happy to do 48 weeks work a year, that's 48 times 4, which is a little 960 or whatever it is, 180 grand. So if you look in your turnover and it's less than that, you've got some spare capacity, do something with it. So time is the ability to take on more work. You've got an empty slot in your diary. Richard Strongman, that's the ability to take on some more restaurants or hotels or outlets when life's back to normal in some way, over and above what you're currently doing without having to put more trucks on or more men on. If you're Tony Brown at Beals, who I interviewed for the Quantum Show, it's if they're buying a piece of a cardigan for 40 quid and selling it for 100, then the spare capacity is the unsold stock that they've had to either discount or they could have sold more units over and above what you're currently doing. So retailers have almost got an unlimited spare capacity. The other one that's got an unlimited spare capacity is those that sell their SaaS, software as a service. So if you're Microsoft and you haven't got 100% market share, then you've got spare capacity. I hope that fits into most people's understanding. So getting to the end of my presentation, which is starting with the end in mind. If I can give you one tip and you can take one piece of advice or information today, this would be my choice. It may not necessarily be yours. So how many of you go on holidays pre-COVID? Quite a few. Now, if you're anything like my wife, you put an infinite amount of time into your holiday. What plane are we going to use? What are we going to pack? How are we going to get from the house to the airport? When we get to the destination, what restaurant are we going to eat in? Let's have a look at Trustist and see what recommendations are. Let's have a look, get a local guidebook and see what the interesting spots are to see. Let's learn 5 words of Spanish that's going to get us by if we're going to go to Spain. All the stuff you put in so much planning and time and effort before you even embark on your holiday. And Ian Cahill, you'd understand this, that everybody puts a lot of time into their holiday. Happy days. And I'm not trying to dissuade you from doing that. But if you put as much time and planning and effort into your holiday, into your business as to your holiday, it'd make the world of difference. How many of you started a business and thought, oh, that's a great idea. I like taking pictures. I'm going to be a photographer. Oh, okay, right. What am I going to do? Well, let's join your partnerships. Happy days. So I can just say, hey, I'm a photographer. I can go and put a billboard on my desk. Say, I want some photography. Hello, got some great deals on photography. I've got some value adds too, by the way, because I went to John's class and I'm not giving photography for free. I've got some value adds here. And come and do, oh, yeah, hang on. What? Someone said I better get a website. Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. Right. I'll get my website out and it's all running and think, oh, it's not working too well. It's not driving business. Oh, what did I do wrong? Oh, no idea. Let's get a website person in. You know what I'm talking about. So it's all the stuff we get involved in the here and now rather than where we should be going. So I sold my business for a multi-million dollar sum twice. Once to a trade sale, once to a flotation. When we started both legs of those journey, we knew that the end destination was going to be a trade sale. We knew that the end destination was going to be a flotation when we began the journey. That was our 10-year plan. Well, one took 13, one took 8. So we got 10 in the middle. So that was the end destination. So if we're going to do that, what do we have to do? We've got to get a nomad in place. For those of you who've gone through flotations, I won't bore you, but someone that's going to promote the things, make sure we do it. We've got to get an auditor in place. Because we've got to have our books audited all the way through if we're going to prepare. We've got to get a proper financial forecasting account, because if we don't have all the forecasts done, then we're not going to be able to position the thing to get a flotation document out in the process. So we work all the way back. So working it back to your business. Do you want a lifestyle business? And there's nothing wrong with a lifestyle business, believe me. But what's that lifestyle look like? Start with the why. Why do I want a lifestyle business? What is the lifestyle business that I want? And then don't listen to the how I get there. Just go and do it. So work your way back. So have that end destination in mind, whatever that looks like. Vision document. You see videos of Tiger Woods with envisionment. And there he is. He's looking over his putt, and it's the 72nd hole, and he needs this 40-foot winding putt to go in the hole to win the US Open. And he's looking at it here, and he's looking at it from all over there, and he's looking at it down there, and he's looking over the hole. What's he doing? He's visualizing the whole thing from the time that he hits the ball, where it's going to go all the way around, and then the final thing, he sees it going into the hole, right? That's a real little short capture moment of starting with the end in mind. So Tiger's end ideal is to get the ball into the hole. And then how to do that, he works his way all the way backwards to the time that he stands over and hits the putt. When he hits the putt, he knows pretty well it's gone in. And I've seen some videos on this. It's absolutely amazing. When you go back and have a look on his face, he knows that he's hit it in that right place in the first couple of feet. And he already knows that it's going in the hole. And I saw one at Winged Foot where it was like a 40, 50-foot putt. I don't know if people into golf. And you think, man, as soon as you replay it and see, he knows it's going in. And it's still got 38 feet to go. How could that be? And then sure enough, by some miracle, in it pops. How many times do Manchester United score a goal in the 90th minute to win a bloody game against your team? And you think, is this a fluke? What goes on here? Or have they done something that's done that? So get your exit strategy, whatever that looks like. Do I want to retire? Do I want to sell the business? Do I want to get how do I want to sell the business? Do I want to do a trade sale? Do I want to float it? Do I want to walk away from it? Do I want to give it to my family? What is the process? Where do you want to end up? What is your exit strategy? That's where you got to start. And then you got to set yourself 3 goals. One is your BHAG, which is your big hairy-assed goal. And that's that massive one that, if everything, the guy didn't get shot out of the tree, he didn't get in the waterfall, he didn't go over there, he got out of the wardrobe, he escaped with his life. What's the best outcome it could possibly have if everything went right? Then you set yourself the great to achieve goal, something back from the BHAG. And then you've got to set yourself a non-negotiable must achieve goal. This is non-negotiable. Come hell or high water, this mark must be met. And they're the 3 goals that you can work between. Then you don't get disappointed. So you've got your end strategy in mind. Work back by steps and then do some planning. There's a little link there on 100 ideas to go and consider.